Hi there, it's John from Commercial Real Estate Online. Welcome to the program. Welcome to the video show where we share ideas relating to commercial real estate. That is sales, leasing or property management. In every show you'll get tips that you can use in your real estate business. Now the website to contact us is commercial-realestate-training.com. Now in today's video I want to focus on inspection strategies. Let's say you have a property listed and you want to talk to the client about inspection strategies. So the client knows that you really have considered the best way of showing their property to get the best interest, to get the best offers. Now, most agents really don't focus on this, and that of course is their weakness. But you can turn that around and do something yourself, which is very specific when it comes to inspection strategies. It doesn't matter what property listing you have. It could be an office tower. It could be just a tenancy within an office space. It could be a retail property. It could be industrial. It doesn't matter. But show the client that you have some definite, real and specific inspection strategies that you will use with their property, with the qualified people that you're working with. When you do that, the client cannot help but understand that you are a top agent, a better agent, someone who is specifically focusing on getting results. So this, if you like, is one way of not being generic. It's one way of you being very specific, very professional, and guess what? You typically win more listings by doing this particular thing in your presentation. So let's have a look at that and let's see how you can expand the inspection strategies that can apply for your listings. Of course, exclusive listings, not open listings. Open listings are a waste of time. Yes, I said that. Open listings are a waste of time. I'll say it again. Don't waste your time. If you are a top agent, a professional agent, list exclusively. And these are the reasons why. So let's go into the inspection strategies that you can use in your location. So think about the inspection strategies that could apply to your listings now. The idea here is that you tell the client of the specific things that you will do as part of showing the client's property to people. The first approach that I always work through is a SWOT analysis so the client can see that I totally understand their property. I'll start with the design, of course, because every property has a different design, and from that you'll get some strengths and weaknesses. Also look into the income stream for stability, growth and opportunity. Also look at the weaknesses within the income stream, and they will be vacancies. And if you're selling an investment property, that will be something to talk about and work through. Then of course there are the improvements within the asset. The improvements as in quality, modernisation, use, functionality. If it's an investment property, then the tenants have to use the property comprehensively and at a higher level. Now, is the property well tuned to being used by tenants as an investment asset? Look at the location. Some locations are better than others. So the location will include neighbouring properties, close by properties, comparables, that sort of thing. And look at the comparables, which will be the other listings in the location. Now, every property will have a set of features. So if I go back to my first point, and that is the property design, when you look at the property design, you'll understand what the features could be. Those features can be fed into your marketing and your advertising. Let's go further with that. So after I have actually looked at the SWOT analysis for the property, I'll go down into the target market, and this again is specific. So the client knows that I'm thinking about exactly who I should approach in the marketing campaign to inspect the property, to create interest. So in most listings, I would try and define a target market of 3 or 4 groups. So the client knows that I've already thought about what I'm going to do, how I'm going to do it, and who I'm going to approach. That's why the target market is so important. So the target market will be by location, where those people are located, the types of properties that those people like to buy, and also the types of people that I need to focus on. Are they investors? Are they top quality investors, or are they at the other end, which are the small mums and dads investors that are out there? Of course, I'll look at the budget and I'll consider any VIPs that could be in my target market right now. And of course, from that, I'll create a shortlist. So when you actually think about it, these things come together as a very specific way of tuning the target market that could apply to your client discussions regards their listing. And when would I do that? I would do that in the actual presentation phase. Let's go further. So qualifying the people that I'm going to talk to. Let's say I'm getting inquiries for the asset from the marketing campaign. I always want to dig down because I don't want to waste my time. I don't want to waste the client's time. I need to know that the people who inquire regards the property are actually able to inspect and purchase, make an offer. So I'll qualify a person or a company, whoever is approaching me, initially by the property requirements. That's very easy. We all do that. Then I'll dig further because I want to know of their ability to act. If they tell me they have to sell something else, well, that is a hurdle. I need to know that from the outset. So if they have an ability to act which is Class A, in other words, no hurdles whatsoever, that's good. I'll work with them further. Then, of course, I'll inquire regards the budget for the property that they actually want to take on or purchase. I need to know that they have the finance capability or the cash. After those 4 particular points, I'll be going down into the method of settlement. How will they settle? If they want to buy a property, how would they settle? Is it something they can do in 1 month, 2 months, 6 months, whatever it is? I need to know. Because my client may not want to sit around for 6 months waiting for some sort of offer. And that, of course, comes to a timeline. So these particular items here all become the timeline questions that are part of my qualifying process with the potential buyers who want to look at the property. I would do this before I took those buyers to the property. This is my qualifying process. Any hurdles that I hear in these questions will allow me to probe further. I won't take a person to the property unless they satisfy all of the elements that I know need to be satisfied. And there they are, right there. So let's go further. So let's say I've found a person who can actually purchase that property. And I know they qualify. So I'm now starting to think about the inspections of the property, how they will occur. It's my job to make sure that I'm going to inspect the property to show it in its fullest and most positive presentation, both in improvements, design, layout, access, all of that. So again, I'm talking to the client here. I'm going to tell the client that I want to think about the best way to show the property. Now, in this case, I've got an industrial warehouse, and that's fine. It's a large industrial warehouse. So I need to think about how I will show the externals of the property before I move inside. I always deal with the externals first, so that I'm telling the client that when I've found that qualified buyer, I'm going to go to a property and show the external parts of the property in a very positive way, a very specific way. So I'm showing the strengths of the property, and I'm taking the potential buyer through the property in a particular order. Yes, I said a particular order, not just a matter of moving into the front door and walking around, or moving into the gate and driving around. That's not it. I will know what gate I will enter the property, where I will park the car, how I will encourage the person who is a qualified buyer to walk with me around the property first. And I did say around the property first, so they get a feeling for the outside design, the layout, the quality of the building. If there are any weaknesses on the outside of the property, well, they have to be dealt with as well. So, in the external inspections, the access points. How do I get into the property? Where do I park the car? What is the timing of the external inspections? What are the safety factors that I need to think about, particularly if there are a lot of deliveries going on? That can be an issue. Maybe there's only certain times of day that I can go to the property with qualified people. And then from that, I'll give the client in the property presentation process, in the listing process, a set of features that I've already identified that I will feed into the external inspections before I move into the property. Do you think the client is interested in my skills, my ability? Of course. This is a very important strategy in explaining how you will show the property, starting with the externals. So let's go further. I've already inspected the outside of the property, so now I'm moving internally. And of course, we're in an industrial site, that's fine. So, I need to have an awareness of tenant operations because that will be an impacting thing for the way in which I walk around in the property. So, I'll also need an IM, that's an information memorandum for the asset that I can give people to tell them about the property, the design, the layout, the cash flow, the tenant, the leases, all of that. So in the internal inspections, I will present the IM to the person that I'm taking around the asset. And of course, I'll have a summary of features of the improvements. It could be the level of the warehouse roofline. It could be the spans, the structures, the ability to store pallets and to store goods within the asset, to move trolley trucks and forklifts around inside the asset. Is the asset favourable for storage in a major way, or is it a small property? So think about the features of the improvements inside the property that you will show the inspecting party. And then I'll talk through the operational advantages that would apply to a tenant in the structure, because the tenant needs to occupy for the longer term, because that underpins the lease renewal. It underpins the rental, the market rental strategies, structures and growth. So these are all operational advantages that I would feed into my internal inspection, and I would talk about it. So who is going to buy this property? Will they be investors or will they be owner-occupiers? So again, when you think about it, these things here can all be expanded for the internal inspection. So your inspections are so solid, so specific, so tuned to the qualified people that you've already sorted out. So let's now consider the next aspect of your inspection, a very important aspect that feeds into both issues of the inspection. It's all about site access. So you have to understand the sensitivity of properties, particularly when you have tenants there. If it's in an office property, it could be lawyers. If it's in an industrial site, it could be storage or goods or hazardous goods or trucks moving around. The sensitivity of the site and how people will move in and around that site. Because you'll need some sort of approvals and you may need security to take people through the site. How will that happen? You're going to interact with the client and their tenants to make sure that these things are handled in a very real and professional way. Now, in many sites, there are environmental issues to think about or know about. Those environmental issues will be quite special. Hazardous goods, perhaps. Maybe areas where you just can't walk without wearing certain equipment, material, and that's quite common with industrial sites. Then, of course, you'll be concerned about health and safety, so you'll need to wear the appropriate attire, hats, safety glasses, yellow vests, those sorts of things to ensure that people stay with you. They must stay with you. That's a control thing. And then, of course, the appropriate health and safety material that they wear on themselves so that you are protecting them and protecting yourself from any event that could happen where someone gets injured, and it's quite possible with some property types. So ultimately, you are controlling people. That is the site access, and these things need to be questioned because you've got safety issues there and you're going to potentially take many people through a property. If you are selling a very popular property or something that attracts a lot of interest, then these things have to be sorted well before any marketing gets underway and any inspections occur. So you set the rules and then you know exactly how you're going to control the people. Again, this is part of your listing presentation process with the client, so the client knows that you've carefully considered how you're going to show those qualified people through the property safely so that everything works to a positive end result. So let's go further. Something else to think about. Tenant approval. So if there is a tenant or more than one tenant in a property, tenant approval will be absolutely essential. First, you'll have to look at the lease, of course, to understand what the lease says regards the tenant business and how you need to get approvals from the tenant for any inspections that may occur. What you're trying to do there, of course, is to avoid any conflict. And some tenants are extremely sensitive to people walking around the property at certain times or at any time. So you have to share with the tenant your plans of inspections and seek to understand any particular restricted areas that the tenant could be concerned about or special rules that you would need to adhere to. So working with tenants is the rule. Ignoring tenants is a big mistake. When you're selling a property, don't ignore the tenant. Get the client's approval to talk to the tenant in a professional way to set the rules for the inspections, the property marketing. Have the tenant on side. Make sure they are part of your ongoing operational inspection issues so they know what you're doing and how you're going to do it. So let's look at the next part of the program with inspecting properties. Let's say you've held an inspection, you followed all the rules and the strategies that I've shared here now. All of a sudden you're dealing with feedback. After all inspections, you'll provide that third-party feedback, that is the inspecting party. You'll provide that feedback to the client after all inspections. That'll be a telephone call. At the end of the week, you should give a written report to the client regards the inspections. From the third-party feedback, you'll have some strengths and weaknesses. Give that feedback to the client because that can be a leverage point, a conditioning leverage point when it comes to any offers, which will come later on. And some people will talk about price ranges. That's good. That's okay. Because when they talk about price ranges, it's partly conditioning the client to what the inspecting parties are thinking about. You can also give the client the inspecting party feedback on value for money. In other words, is this property actually worth something to them? If so, how much? Or is it worth the price that the client is asking? Simple things really, but these aspects of focus allow you to give third-party feedback to the client. And that is a conditioning process and allows you to give the client a full brief of what's going on out there. And let's say you have 10 or 20 or 30 inspections of a property. All of that feedback has to happen. Track it, put it into a feedback report, and each week that written report is provided to the client, and then you have a meeting with the client. But after all inspections, you actually take them through the telephone call conversation at the end of the day. So, you've had your inspections, you're encouraging offers. Explain to the client how you encourage offers. Offers have to be written. They have to be written in legal form on a document which is a valid offer document for that particular property given the attributes of its sale. So have the document ready to use from the beginning of the marketing so that if someone wants to make an offer early, you've got a document to use. Of course, there'll be price ranges to think about and discuss with the client, a high and a low, an ideal price that they want, but the high and low gives you something to work with. Then, of course, talk to the client about settlement timing and any special terms and conditions that should apply as far as the property going to contract. And from that, you'll then need to think about due diligence, because due diligence on commercial property is, again, quite common. I would encourage you to brief the client on due diligence and make sure that they have their documents in line, everything ready for due diligence, and any weaknesses from the property are removed, refined, documented, solved. The hurdles are removed before the due diligence starts when it goes to contract. So, I've mentioned a good number of things here for you. This is all regards a property presentation to a client in the listing phase, and you are actually talking about how you will have an inspection of the asset. So I'd like you to think about these things, refine these things down into your property presentation. If you do these things, it'll actually show the client through the presentation process that you really are a top agent. You're not just someone who's listing something, marketing online, and then hoping some inquiry will come in. This focus today takes you deeper into the inspection process, and that is a massively good thing. Enjoy the momentum, use these ideas, open them up into other things if you wish. And of course, go out there and win the business. Don't forget to visit our website at commercial-realestate-training.com and check out the link here today of an article that also relates directly to this particular topic. Print off the article, keep it and use it. Follow the link below. This is John Hyman signing off for now. I'll catch you again very soon online. Thanks for visiting.